So time to use Sequelize outside of the table creation. For this, let's go into our controller files, and there let's start with creating a new product, because that will be helpful for later also retrieving them. In admin.js, we right now import our product model from the models file, and that is fine because we do still export it there at the bottom, so we should still import it in admin.js. But here in post add product, we will now work with that product a bit differently. What I will do here is I will get rid of that old code we used for creating a product, and instead I will now create a new product here by calling one of the methods provided by Sequelize. And by just typing the dot, my IDE suggests me a lot of methods I can call. And these methods are all coming from Sequelize, which shows its great power. And there we got create, for example. Create creates a new element based on that model and immediately saves it to the database. There also is build, which also creates a new object based on a model, but only in JavaScript, and then we need to save it manually. So create basically does it in one go. With build, we get the object in JavaScript first before we then have to save it manually. I will go for create to immediately store it. And now create here simply takes some arguments that we need to pass per our model definition. So I can pass in a JavaScript object, and now here I even get the auto-completion by my IDE to assign field values. Now, I don't need to assign an ID, that will be managed automatically, but for example, I need to assign a title by storing the title here. So on the right side of the colon, I'm referring to my constant, left side refers to one of the attributes I defined in the model. I also have a price, which I assign to price. I also have an image URL, which I assign to image URL. And I also get a description, which I assign the description value I fetched. And as I said, this will immediately save it to the database. Now, just as MySQL did in the last course module, Sequelize works with promises. So here, we can chain then, and we can chain catch. We can catch any error we might get to see what's going wrong. And we can also have a look at the result we get in case it does not go wrong. Now with that, if we save this, let's go to our application, and it won't work by default because fetch all is not working because we have no function in place to fetch products. So for now, we have to immediately go to /admin/add product to load this page. The other pages won't work. And here, I'll store my first book. I fetch an image URL. Make sure it's not a base64 URL, but a real URL pointing at some JPEG or PNG file. I'll assign a price here, and I will store a description. This is the first book I add through Sequelize. If I click Add Product here, and we go back to NodeJS, this seems to have succeeded here, because we get no errors. Here we see the SQL statement it executed, insert into. I got an error before that, though. That was when I tried to reach the page listing all the products, where we failed to call fetch all because that is not provided by Sequelize. But thereafter, once I was on the right page, inserting this was executed. You see it also executed the syntax where it escapes the values automatically, as we did in the last module. And in the return value, this is looking good. It looks like it did create this book. And we can prove that by going to our products table and refresh this, and we should see our book being added there. So this indeed succeeded. So this is how we can add a value through Sequelize. And this is a huge step forward, of course. And I'll comment out my result log here and simply log created product to not pollute my console as much. So now we created a product. Let's, in the next step, have a look at how we can use Sequelize to retrieve data.